When I look around the room, I see a number of people who were at the first PLAR conference, our first forum back in 1995. Can you raise your hand if you were there? Yes. Actually, stand up and take a bow. Let's give these seasoned and persistent champions of PLAR an applause. Before proceeding this morning, I would like to take a moment to thank everyone who participated in this year's sponsorship program. Our sponsors include the Government of Ontario, the Government of Manitoba, Nova Scotia, the Nova Scotia Labour and Workforce Development, the Government of New Brunswick, Yukon Advanced Education, Nova Scotia Community College, the Government of Prince Edward Island, the Government of Saskatchewan, and the Canadian Commission for UNESCO. All our sponsors are listed in your program and on signage near the registration desk, and we are sincerely grateful to all our sponsors for their support. The theme of this year's conference is Innovative Assessment Practices to Support Sustainable Development, and we have tons of learning opportunities for you over the next couple of days, including a vast variety of workshops on both PLAR and qualifications recognition. To reduce our environmental footprint, we have continued our policy of avoiding conference kits. However, for those of you who are going to do a lot of shopping in the wonderful shops around Ottawa, we have purchased a small number of reusable bags that are available at our registration desk. I would now like to take a moment to acknowledge the Board of Directors of CAPLA, and they're here with us today, so please stand when I say your name. Patrick Donoghue. Phil Mondor. Oh, he's not here yet. Probably grabbing a coffee. Millie McKenzie. Deb Blower. Guy Fortier. Oh, he went back down? Yes, there he is. Diane Gordon. Diane here? Martha Ireland. Grant McTavish. Back. And Amanda Roberts. I would also like to welcome our international delegates and speakers. We have 8 countries participating in the conference this year, and they include England, Germany, Malaysia, Scotland, Switzerland, France, Trinidad and Tobago, and the United States. Welcome one and all. We have something new this year. In order to be able to carry on exchanges that begin at this conference, we've created an RPL action board at the registration desk. We invite you to post a question or a topic that you'd like discussed with other participants, either online or through teleconferencing. These questions can be posted during forums available at the registration desk, and if forums available at the registration desk. And if you see a question that's already posted that's of interest to you, you can indicate that as well. We'll be contacting you in the near future on topics that have arisen from the RPL Action Board. I would now like to introduce David Walden, Secretary General of the Canadian Commission for UNESCO. Although you will find details of his bio in the program, I want to thank David personally for his sponsorship of this event, as well as the support he has shown CAPLA over the years. We have been partners in a number of CCU initiatives and are most grateful to Elizabeth Barrett and the staff of the Canadian Commission for UNESCO for the commitment to adult learning and formal recognition of skills and abilities of adults in Canada. Please join me in welcoming David Walden.
Thank you very much, and good morning. And those of you who have had the opportunity or taken the time to look at my biography will see that I do not have a background in education. So I'm not going to try and compete with the expertise in this room by talking to you specifically about recognition of learning and recognition of skills, but rather what I would like to do is give you a sense of the international scene with respect to education and how that relates back to what you're doing, and indeed why we need to continue the important work to have recognition of prior learning. The topic or the subject that I've given is education for all and the role of UNESCO, going beyond the Millennium Development Goals. And what I want to do is just give you a sense of what's going on internationally with respect to education other than the Millennium Development Goals. Because while indeed they are important, and about 2 months ago in New York, you will have seen in the press that over $40 billion was pledged by various countries to continue with the Millennium Development Goals. Only one of the Millennium Development Goals relates to education. I don't want to trivialize the importance of the others, but it is worth noting that only one specifically addresses education. So to create a little bit of context for you, first of all, one of the fundamental premises that I have in my remarks this morning is that the issues and the challenges that are facing the world today are global. They're not national, and they therefore require global solutions. And this ranges from everything including natural disasters, think of the earthquake in Haiti and what has taken place in the last few months there, to international terrorism, climate change, sea level rise. In all of those cases, no one single nation state is going to be able to resolve the issue within its own boundaries. So we require collective and multilateral solutions to these and other challenges, and certainly the challenges facing education are no different. But at the same time as developing these global responses, we have to have results and approaches that can be adapted to local realities. So no one size fits all is going to solve any of these issues. The overall situation internationally in all areas has been exacerbated in the last 2 years by the multiple crises that are now facing the world, sometimes known informally as the 3 Fs, the financial, the food, and the fuel crises. And collectively, they've led to a worldwide economic downturn, as you're all very well aware. But what that has, the impact of that and what that has done, that it's thrown many million more people into poverty and resulted in approximately 1 billion people, so about a sixth of the world's population, being chronically undernourished. And as, again, the impact of that on education, I think, is well known. But I want to go back 10 years and look first at what happened in the year 2000 when, with the dawn of the new millennium, there was a renewed determination, I think a renewed optimism, to address a lot of the world's challenges, education being no different in that regard. And as many of you know, that in April of that year, representatives of 164 countries met in Dakar, Senegal, and adopted what have since become known as the 6 Dakar Goals. The feeling at that time was that there was a real opportunity to address the challenges in education and to expand educational opportunities with a target goal of 2015. There are 6 Dakar goals. I won't go through all of them, but 3 of them are of particular relevance for us today. The first is Goal 3, ensuring that the learning needs of all young people and adults are met through equitable access to appropriate learning and life skills programs. Goal 4, achieving a 50% improvement in levels of adult literacy by 2015, especially for women, and equitable access to basic and continuing education for all adults. And Goal 6, improving all aspects of the quality of education and ensuring excellence so that the recognized and measurable learning outcomes are achieved by all, especially in literacy, numeracy, and essential life skills. 6 months later, in September of 2000, at the UN Millennium Summit held in New York, the leaders from all of the countries of the world adopted the Millennium Development Goals. And these were much more wide-ranging. They established goals and targets for combating poverty, hunger, disease, literacy, environmental degradation, and discrimination against women, again, with a target date of 2015. Now, as I mentioned earlier, one of the Millennium Development Goals relates to education, and that's Goal 2, but it is reduced to, and I say reduced to because I think when you look at the scope and the breadth of the Dakar goals, when they address this in the Development Summit, Goal number 2 is achieve universal primary education by 2015. But what must be remembered is that the Education for All movement, as the Dakar goals were put under that framework, Education for All has been an ambition of the international community since the 1960s. It's not new. Secondly, and again, as many of you know, it was sort of put under that title or that label at the World Conference on Education for All in Jomtien, Thailand in 1990, and then renewed, that commitment was renewed in Dakar in 2000. And there is interlinkages clearly between the two sets of goals, but the difference really is that the Dakar goals are specific to education, whereas the Millennium Development Goals constitute an overarching framework for international development in the broadest context. Provision of primary education and gender equality in education are the two areas, in fact, where the MDGs and the Education for All agenda overlaps. But other areas like literacy, quality of education, non-formal education, these are implied, but they're not specifically stated in the Millennium Development Goals. So as we move towards the target date of 2015 for both sets of goals, there still remain at least 72 million children out of school, and population growth continues to mask the progress that's being made so that the numbers still remain dramatically high. The international community has increasingly recognized that the formal education system, combined with lifelong learning in the community, in the workplace, and in the home, are most closely linked to the functional outcomes that are being sought. And finally, I would say to you, what is important in all of this is that we all keep on learning. The how and the what will influence this, but if we are all to survive and prosper in the knowledge society, we must create a culture of lifelong learning. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I was introduced earlier. My name is Patrick Donahoe. I'm Vice President, Student and Institutional Support at CAPLA University in North Vancouver. It's my pleasure to thank David for his remarks this morning. For helping us increase our understanding of the importance of investing in sustainable education. I think what struck me is that you really bring the world to our doorstep and remind us of a context for our thinking and working in the days ahead. See the importance of moving in new directions, but also reorienting our education and training programs and improving links between the formal, non-formal, and informal learning in order to realize the promise of lifelong learning, which I think we're all committed. I have a gift for you as a small token of our thanks for your work this morning. And it's right here.
Thank you very much.
David has offered to help us with the next part of our program. Each year, we have an opportunity of recognizing exceptional work in our field. The conference committee met last month, reviewed all of the nominations, and that took a while, and the competition was stiff. It was a difficult task, but we have come up with 3 winners, our winner in each of the 3 categories, and they are recognizing a person, a program, and an institution. Criteria for these awards are in your program, and you will find the description of the winner's accomplishments at your table. So I will announce the winner in each of the categories and then ask them to come to the podium to accept the award. David will present the award, and we're hoping to be willing to allow for a couple of photos as well. So the winner in the person category is Dale Gallagher. Dale? Dale is the coordinator of continuing education at Vanier College. She's responsible for the successful implementation of the PLAR project to recognize the competencies of private sector daycare workers in order to grant them an attestation of college studies in early childhood education. Congratulations, Dale Gallagher.
I'll say a few words to you this morning. First of all, thank you very, very much. I'm here today able to accept this award because Quebec's Ministry of Education acknowledged that PLAR was a political and social responsibility, committed to offering PLAR as a regular service in adult education, and undertook a process focused on individuals and their needs. In Vanier College in 2009-2010, in a PLAR project with l'Association des Garderies Privées du Québec and funded by Emploi Québec and MELS, Ministère de l'Éducation, Loisirs et du Sport, approximately 150 people have graduated from an attestation program in early childhood education, and as a result are qualified to work in daycare centers. Thank you for the honor of receiving this award, and a special thanks to all my mentors, colleagues, and collaborators in PLAR. Thank you. Merci.
The award winner in the program category goes to, you have to forgive me for this, but I'm going to try French. Tonnerre régional et reconnaissance d'acquis des compétences du comité de l'adaptation de la main-d'œuvre personnes immigrantes. My apologies. Raja Habel, the Executive Director, and Nadia Lagrouse, representing the organization, will accept the award.
Bonjour tout le monde, merci beaucoup. Je suis Raja Habal, je suis la directrice générale du comité d'adaptation de la main-d'œuvre pour les personnes immigrantes. Et vous avez raison, c'est tellement lent, alors on va l'appeler CAMO-pays. C'est comme ça qu'on l'appelle, notre organisme. C'est un organisme qui œuvre dans l'élaboration et la mise en œuvre de stratégies d'intégration des personnes immigrantes en emploi. Et c'est dès le début, depuis sa création, qu'on s'est intéressé à la reconnaissance des acquis et des compétences. On a reconnu également que la non-reconnaissance des acquis et des compétences est le grand problème majeur pour l'intégration des personnes en emploi. Alors, c'est suite à une consultation avec les partenaires qu'on s'était rendu compte qu'il y a un grand travail en silo qui se fait. Il y a des programmes au niveau de la reconnaissance des acquis et des compétences, mais en plus de la lenteur du processus, il y a aussi un travail en silo, il y a une méconnaissance des programmes. C'est comme ça qu'est née cette tournée régionale de reconnaissance des acquis et des compétences. Madame Lacruz a coordonné ce projet depuis le mois de décembre dernier. On a été à peu près à 8 régions du Québec. On a couvert pratiquement 300 personnes jusque-là. Donc, une tournée assez réussie et assez attendue. Mais en acceptant aujourd'hui cet honneur, ce prix, au nom du CAMO-pays, de son personnel, mais également on accepte un prix pour le travail partenarial, un prix pour remettre la personne immigrante au cœur de l'intervention et l'intégration en emploi, marché de travail. Merci beaucoup.
The winner of the Institutional Award is Athabasca University's Center for Learning Accreditation. Since the introduction of its prior learning assessment and recognition process in 1997, Athabasca University has been the Canadian leader in developing, implementing, and promoting PLAR in a university context. Dr. Diane Conrad, the director of the center, will accept this award.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Athabasca University, I'm very delighted to accept this award. Athabasca takes its PLAR very, very seriously. We're very proud of the work we've done on behalf of all the students who've come through our process in the last years. Since he is here in the audience, I'd like to recognize one of my predecessors and perhaps one of the people who laid the foundation for the process that we have in place today, and that's Dr. Jeff Peruniak of Athabasca University, who is sitting right back there. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff was also instrumental in bringing me to Athabasca 5.5 years ago, a move which I'm extremely happy to have made and hope to stay there for a while, continuing to do the work of PLAR. And thank you to CAPLA so much for your support of all our efforts over the years. Thanks.
I'll just draw your attention to the national plaque that we have over here, and the award winner names will be added to that. Thank you, and good morning from me.
Good morning. My name is Gary Greenman, and you don't really need to know a whole lot about me, but I do have a background from spending most of my career in the federal government, Human Resources Development Canada, working in the Sector Council program. Later, I was the executive director of the Canada Career Consortium, and more recently, the executive director of the Alliance of Sector Councils. But we are here this morning, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with you in the recognition of the work of Lenore Burton. As many of you know, or I guess you all know, Lenore passed away after a brief illness with cancer in September of this year. I have personally known Lenore since working at the Canadian Labour Force Development Board, where the Canada Career Consortium was housed. Lenore gained a reputation in Ottawa and nationally as a careful and successful manager of non-government organizations that were founded on the principle of shared ownership by the voices of workers and employers. She was the executive director for much of its history of the Canadian Labour Force Development Board, which had been initially set up to provide the federal government with advice on selected labor force development issues. The CLFDB took on a number of very significant labor force issues over the years, developed and distributed many research papers, guides, and resource materials, some of which are still very current today. National labor market policies and initiatives have often sprung from the groundbreaking research and work that originated with the CLFDB. Lenore approached this work with dedication, national purpose, sound managerial skills, a sense of humor, an ability to encourage disparate groups and staff members to cooperate and work together on common issues, and a sense of relevance for the resulting output. She also successfully managed, unfortunately, a major downsizing exercise of the CLFDB, and many years later, its ultimate closure due to changing government priorities. Being the good entrepreneur that she was, Lenore moved on to senior positions in the federal government, where she continued to champion many very worthwhile labor market and social issues. Her voice, her leadership, her commitment and contribution to national labor market issues and policies. Her sense of making a contribution to improved living and working conditions for all Canadians will be missed, but also celebrated by many, and especially by those who have directly benefited. Thank you.
My name is Bonnie Kennedy, and I'm the Executive Director of CAPLA. I met Lenore in 1995 when she was ED of the Canadian Labour Force Development Board. I was a faculty member at Fleming College and the PLAR facilitator at the time, and was presenting a workshop at the 1995 PLAR Forum in Ottawa. When the position of lead for PLAR came up at the CLFDB in 1998, Lenore interviewed me for the job. I was in awe of the work of the CLFDB as well as the surroundings on Slater Street, but more in awe of the woman. My time at the CLFDB stands out as a highlight in my career for a number of reasons, but primarily because of Lenore and the wonderful team of professionals with whom I worked. After the CLFDB closed, a group of us would get together for dinner from time to time, and Lenore was always excited to meet with us, to have some laughs, and to hear about our personal and professional lives. Lenore once told me that of all of her CLFDB activities, it was PLAR that really caught her imagination. Even after Lenore left the CLFDB and joined HRSDC, she was a PLAR champion. You will see on the screen that Lenore was one of the first recipients of the Recognizing Learning Award in 2001. She is on the left-hand side, about middle way back. And you'll also see Jane Stewart there, who was then Minister of HRSDC. And Jane Stewart also presided over the first roundtable we had in PLAR in Crowbush, Prince Edward Island. As a kindred spirit and lover of Chardonnay and grandchildren, and not necessarily in that order, Lenore and I would share pictures and stories of grandchildren, which we did in July when she was unaware of how sick she was. We were both renting cottages again and looking forward to quality time with kids and grandkids. When Jenny Burton and I were talking about Lenore a few weeks ago, two stories came forward which I wanted to share with you today because they speak to Lenore's interest in people and commitment to those around her. This summer, a teleconference had been planned as part of a selection process in which a junior colleague of Lenore's was being considered for a position. Lenore insisted she was well enough to participate, not only because it was a commitment, but because she had strong convictions as to how valuable this individual would be to the department. This was 3 weeks before she died, but her strength and determination got her through. Another story involved a hospital orderly who was taking Lenore for some diagnostic tests in a hospital in late August. The orderly was a newcomer, and for those of you who knew Lenore, you will remember how interested she was in other people. She engaged the man in conversation, curious about why he had emigrated, what his job had been in his home country, and how he found life in Canada. So the unsuspecting orderly shared his story with Lenore. He brought her safely back to her hospital room, amazed at how this woman was the first to engage him in a meaningful discussion about his life and times as a newcomer. Lenore's love of Canada and commitment to nation building was also something that set her apart, along with her optimism, energy, and sense of purpose. PLAR would not be where it is today without Lenore's leadership.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Catherine MacLean, and I'm the Vice President of People and Planning at the Nova Scotia Community College. I had the pleasure of first meeting Lenore Burton in the early 90s when I was the Nova Scotia Provincial Representative on the National Advisory Committee for the PLAR Conference hosted by CLFDB. In those early days, PLAR was in its infancy. Lenore, however, saw the potential PLAR offered to all learners, especially those who were disadvantaged. Lenore's commitment to and passion for education was inspiring and made a deep and lasting impression upon me. It is an honor for me to read the following tributes as a celebration of her life. The first one is from Doug Myers, former Executive Director of the Prior Learning Center in Halifax. I first met Lenore 21 years ago at a workshop in Moncton, and our professional and personal friends grew over the countless strategy sessions, consultations, conferences, and demonstration projects that followed. Certainly, her support and encouragement for the PLA Center in Halifax was a very significant factor in its development and success. Certainly, for all of those engaged in adult and prior learning work across the country over the past few decades, her leadership and unfailing comradeship made a crucially important and lasting contribution. The next tribute is from Terry Ann Boyles. Terry Ann, the Vice President of Public Affairs, Association of Canadian Community Colleges. Lenore was a key colleague and friend going way back to the CLMPC years and the labor force task groups. We worked on the role of technicians and technologists report next and countless other projects as she headed up CLFDB. The most important of which was the selection of Bonnie Kennedy to put the stamp of PLAR on everything. At HRSDC and CIC, she continued her passion for what colleges can do, especially for the less advantaged. But she was also a close friend, welcoming to Ottawa and countless dinners, so I saw the much less proper Lenore. This picture looks somewhat proper, but let me tell you, she played her floozy role to the hilt that evening at the ACCC Yukon Conference. Selecting her outfit was hilarious, along with a couple of her women friends and 2 male presidents. But what we saw in the Yukon stays in the Yukon. Cheer. And Lenore is in the middle. She's the floozy in the middle, I guess. And the last tribute is from Donna Kirby. I worked closely, Donna is the visiting executive for the Association of Professional Executives of the Public Service of Canada. Donna states, I worked closely with Lenore for the better part of a decade at HRSDC. She was my boss for a time, and later on I became her colleague. She was a highly intelligent person, hardworking, highly skilled, conscientious, demanding of her team, and also of herself. She forged solid partnerships across Canada. She operated with high ethics, always. Lenore had an agile business mind. She had many achievements at HRSDC, including leading the work on the Learning Bond. Lenore was also a tireless champion for advancing the concept of recognition of learning in all its forms, and she made sure this was a front and center issue through her public service career. In closing, Lenore touched many lives and made a difference wherever she worked. Her work continues with the many people she inspired to deliver on education for all. Thank you, Lenore, for making a difference.
I have 3 housekeeping issues before you break. The first is that the 2 authors who are here today, Judy Harris and Peter Smith, will be signing their books. Judy Harris's book on retheorizing the recognition of prior learning, and Peter's Harnessing America's Wasted Talent. Those will be on sale during the lunch hour out in the reception area. Also, please note that if you haven't signed up for the affinity dinner for the recognition of prior learning, ACCC Affinity Dinner at 7:30, please do so out front. Space is limited, but there is a sign-up sheet again at the reception area. And Guy might have mentioned this earlier, but there is a breakfast involving participants from Quebec tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock in the ballroom. Thank you very much and enjoy your morning. And hopefully it will be not a noisy morning anymore.